From the moment I began walking into this place, you could tell something was different. It had a different vibe. Overall, this sits somewhat under a canopy of trees or a jungle in reality. You'll see by my photos the beauty and the lore when you get in there. Where is this special place? Cahal Pech. Cahal Pech is an archaeological reserve in San Ignacio, Belize. It's at the confluence of the Cahal and the Mayan River. It would have been an amazing view back in the day because it sits on the heights, more so above Cahal River, but it sits on the heights of San Ignacio. And for my visit, it's just fascinating. There were very few people when we visited, and the morning mist gave it just a sight that looked mystical. So this was the habitation of an elite Maya family. The site shows continuous signs of habitation from as early as 1200 BCE all the way to 900 AD. This site has 34 different structures, which includes an administrative buildings and civic buildings, 8 plazas in all. They're all connected with these amazing intertwining passageways and arched doorways and vaulted roofs. There were temples, residential areas, ceremonial buildings. There were a few altars as well, a throne room, a royal burial chamber, and ball courts, which is an amazing game in itself. I did a prior video on that particular game, and I might tack it on at the very end of this. If you want to check it out, it's absolute insanity how they used to play these games and just how hardcore the games were. The tallest temple at Cahal Pech stands at 25 meters high, or approximately 82 foot. We were able to climb to the heights of this, and it is incredibly steep when you're climbing up and you lean forward. And you can just see that in some of the pictures when you're looking. I tried to get some photos going up and down. You're kind of leaning forward on your way up and get to the top. You've got to gather your bearings before you start looking around because it gives you a little disorienting effect. And then you get used to it and you start to look. And it is amazing to look about and see everything from a growler monkey's point of view. The temples overlook a central acropolis. I'm sure there's far more structures yet to be uncovered. While walking around, pottery shards were scattered about. You could trip over artifacts along the borders. There was pottery, hammerstones, mortar and pestle, so much more. It was just incredible. So the elite family dwelling that was somewhat between the Mayan ruin sites, this particular site lies in between Zunantunich and Caracal. There was a peak population of 10 to 15,000 people. There were 69 burials recovered, which comprised of about 85 individuals. These burials were discovered all with some amazing pottery, bone rings, stingray spine, turtle shells, all incised with designs, figurines. I could go on. Many unique artifacts were found with the more elite burials. So Cahal Pech spreads out over 22 acres in all, and probably, like I said, far more to be uncovered yet. What's very interesting for me to see is how the original structures, some of them are partially uncovered, and as you follow it up, the bottom's uncovered and exposed. And then you look upward and you start to see these trees and vegetation growing out of dirt, and that covers the very top of the ruins. So it amazes me that this site is a relatively recent one, with the first archaeological study of it, because it was a pasture, and they looked at it in 1950. And this was the first excavated in 1988, and the restoration started in 2000. In all, that's not all that long ago. Just down the road is Zunantunich, which is another ruin that I definitely have to do a video on as well. In the end, I might end up combining and cover 4 different ruins that I visited while I was down there. The ruins that I would cover would be Caracal, Cahal Pech, Zunantunich, and Tikal. Cool fact, during the excavation, they uncovered a shell ink pot, and it still contained red, black, yellow, and blue pigment. Cahal Pech also contained pottery that was unique with polychrome ceramics and jade tubes. There were decorative beads of conch shells, stelas, some stucco in areas, jade and obsidian. There were incised plaque bearing a woman's specific name. There was a mosaic jade mask, deer antlers, jade ear flares. Wait, what? Ear flares? Yeah. These ornate circular tuba-shaped jade that fit into the earlobes. Per Maya culture, these led the wearer to new heights for the mind, soul, and spiritual dimensions. It's just fascinating the items they found and the remarkable condition that they were in. The overall preservation is incredible. And yes, they've restored a few areas to highlight the vaulted ceilings, but it's to allow people to travel those passageways and experience the full site and be safe. So, trivia. Cahal Pech. That actually translates to Place of the Ticks. Timber Adventures thanks you for watching this, and please subscribe if you like our material. Give us a thumbs up, and stay tuned for more content. Share and comment. I had mentioned earlier about the ball courts and the games that the Mayans played, and I'm going to tack that on at the very end here for you to watch if you didn't watch the prior video. Maya ball game. So the Mesoamerican ball game. It was a sporting event. It was also a very public and a religious event too. When I visited Zunantunich, Cahal Pech, Tikal, and Caracal ruins, they all had at least one ball court. Tikal had 7 in total. It can be dated back to 3,000 years ago, and they used a hard ball that weighed about 6 to 8 pounds, and it was formed using latex rubber from the trees and a juice from the morning glory vine, which they mixed together to make the ball somewhat soft and less brittle. How did you play? Did they have rules? Maybe. No one really knows for sure. They do know that they were allowed to use their hips, shoulders, and chest to move the ball about the court. They also wore protective clothing since the ball was so heavy. There would be 2 to 6 players, and they would basically volleyball this ball back and forth with hopes that the other team would allow it to touch the ground, and they would get a point. You definitely kept the ball from touching the ground. Could you spike the ball like in volleyball? That would be a sight. They could bounce the ball off the walls and off the benches. There's plenty of myths as well, and whether or not they are true, we don't know. But the winner was sometimes sacrificed because it was an honor to be sacrificed to the gods. And sometimes they would play the losers of a war or a battle, and then they would execute or sacrifice them when the game was over. These individuals would be sacrificed by decapitation. Well, that's how they did things back in the Mayan day, so we're just going to roll with it. Did this occur? Maybe. One thing is known, the leader of the winning team was seen as a dominant superstar of the day. It's thought that one of the carvings at Tikal is one of the rulers whom also was a dominant ball player. In the book, The Lost City of the Monkey God by Douglas Preston, there's mention of a burial that was exhumed and examined, and numerous healed broken bones were found on the remains. These injuries were thought to be the results of this individual being a ruler and a dominant player in the ball game. Thank you for watching our videos, and we hope to keep bringing you fun history and cultural content that is unique, sometimes local and sometimes from abroad, but always like, subscribe, and comment. Thank you very much. In all, there was over 300 different ball courts that have been identified and mapped in Mayan civilizations. So it definitely was an important part of their culture and life, and it's been resurrected in Mayan culture in modern times, and is played to this day, which is fitting because it's a very religious aspect, and the game was played for regeneration. Just remember, when you do play, keep your head in the game.